What's going on, everybody? Mr. Thrasher here. Welcome to the Museum of Civilization. Look at the size of this place. Look at the architecture. Also known as Canada's Museum of History. It's huge. It is huge. We're going to see a lot of cool stuff in here. So let's pay our entry and head on. And you can see Parliament Hill just over here. Yeah, just fascinated by the architecture here. Yep, we're on the Quebec side here. All right, let's see what they got going on in here. Just figured I'd give you a nice view of Parliament Hill in the distance there. It's a truly massive museum, so I'm gonna cover what I can. I don't want to make this like incredibly long. Got some crazy totem poles here, so check out some of these. Lots of wide open space here. Check out some of these. Like this one right here. Damn. Okay. This is rather impressive. That's quite the carving. This one too. Drain the water here. Man, those are some totems. Wow. I love that. Look at the size of the beak on that. Super cool. It's a big bird at the top. Okay, let's head over here. And we're gonna go through this whole exhibit behind all these totem poles. See what we find in there. Yeah, it's really taken with this one. It's quite the carving. That's huge. Wow, that is something. This whole piece here. Totem pole day here at the museum. Enter. Very interesting smell of wood in here. It's actually a tobacco mortar. Mortaring tobacco. Got some old artifacts, carving tools here. Definitely going to see a great deal of unique carvings. That is really cool. With the frog in the middle there. Look at this. It's like a bird with a face coming out of its body or stomach. Damn, what's that, the head? The size of that head. Very neat. Wow, I love these walkthroughs. Love that. Wow. The size of these logs. Got some tribal drumming in here. Jeez, look at that thing.
It's a song that was given to me by my father.
Cette chanson m'a été transmise par mon père, le chef Earl George.
Very difficult to skip over certain carvings and artifacts. I don't like to skip anything. I'm even interested by these big wooden pillars. It's thick wood. Look at this thing. this one too. Kind of creepy. Wow. This room's pretty interesting. Definitely love these little carvings. This interesting little box here. Check this guy out. Wow. Fascinating carvings. Continuing tradition. This one. Oh man, that is cool. Very interesting. Some interesting artifacts and stuff over here. These are old bracelets. If these artifacts could talk, I'm sure they'd have some very interesting stories. I wonder what that spoon would say. That and a few more interesting artifacts over here. Wow. Yeah. A maze of exhibits and stuff in here. Hey. Hey, hey, hey. Wooden combs. Pretty wild. You even have all these crazy carvings not only behind glass, they're all up in the ceilings. Everywhere. Insane, immense carvings. Indian carvings are everywhere. A huge room of carvings and artifacts in here.
It is a wound that for many will never heal. Residential schools have left a tragic legacy across the country and at Vancouver Island. But a First Nation in Port Alberta hopes a new totem honoring the survivors of those
God, the size of this bird.
in the healing process.
God.
God.
Carving back there too. Wow, these have to be the most interesting spoons I have ever seen. You ever seen spoons like this? Take your medicine. Wow. Really interesting. Look at the size of this one. It's the giant spoon. Incredible. Okay, sorry. This is the giant spoon. Maybe it's the giant's shoehorn. Wow. Very cool. Look at that one. Yeah. Definitely something you don't see every day. Check this out. Back over to where we started. We're going to go through this next interesting corridor. Love the theming here. Wow, look at the size of this thing. Wow, that is top notch. That's a big boat. Look how long it's going to take us to walk by it. Yeah. Love the theming and everything here. Look at that. Whoa. This part of the museum looks to be closed off right now, but get a hold of this theming. It's incredible. Look at the size of this boat. Absolutely massive. Okay, there's two boats. This one here to the left is smaller. That one is huge. Is that your boat, sir? A lot of Indian artifacts. Look at these totem poles back here. These big old fat totems. It's supposedly Totem Pole Day here at the Museum of Civilization. It's quite the boat there. Some interesting artifacts here. Interesting over here. Got a Montreal Canadiens jersey. That's the jersey of Sheldon Surrey. From Fishing Lake in Alberta. When he was 6, his family moved to Edmonton, Alberta, where he developed a love of hockey, and then he was drafted in '94 to the NHL. Played in Albany, New York, before going to the New Jersey Devils, where he played from '97 to '99. It's one of his actual jerseys right there. Is the assistant captain. This one here is for Scott on tape. See that Toronto Maple Leaf jersey? Well, George Armstrong lived from 1930 to 2021, just recently passed. He was an exceptional hockey player by every possible measure. Wore this jersey in 1964, one of the 4 seasons in which Toronto won the Stanley Cup. They didn't win too many. Nicknamed Chief, Armstrong was one of the most famous Indigenous people in post-war Canada, inspiring fascination while also encountering racism. Ironically, he was not legally recognized as an Indigenous person until '85, because his mother had married a non-Indigenous man. And he played for the Toronto Maple Leafs in one of their Stanley Cup seasons. We are the music makers, and we are the dreamers of dreams. Interesting artifacts here. This guitar, this cool blue acoustic guitar right there, very nice guitar, belonged to Willie Dunn, who lived from 1941 to 2013. He was born in Montreal to Micmac and Scottish-Irish parents. He was a folk musician, filmmaker, and playwright. I think we would have gotten along well. His most famous song, The Ballad of Crowfoot, is also the title and soundtrack of National Film Board of Canada, which was a documentary that he directed in 1968. The film received several awards, including a Gold Hugo and Best Short Film at the Chicago International Film Festival in 1969. You may or may not have heard of Louis Riel. He actually wore that jacket. Look at that jacket. Some other artifacts and stuff. There's just so much to look at in here. It's crazy. Look at this place. Bread paddle. Okay, we're now going to be entering the Bluefish Caves, located in the limestone mountains of the northern Yukon Territory, just east of the Alaska border. Very cool theming in here. Wow, look at this. I like it. Look at the floor. Look at the floor. Wow, look at that. There's like old bones and stuff. Whoa, look at that. Neat. That's neat. Pretty cool. I love how they have bones and stuff down there. Piece of mammoth leg bone. Piece of a mammoth's leg bone. Very interesting here. Like that. I love the color here too. Look at this. Little turtle there in the middle. Very neat setup. There's a Creation Stories Theater in here. Really love the setup. This is interesting. Check this out. Wow. Cool. Got a whole theater set up in here. This is Pocahontas. I have to come back in here later. Have my sandwich. My lunch break. When I take my lunch break, come in here. Enjoy my sandwich. That's a cool theater. I like that. Huh. These things always trip me out. Piece of artwork here. So much to check out here. I'm rather overwhelmed. Rather overwhelmed here. Trying to just focus a bit more on the bigger exhibits. Besides that big buffalo over there. That is awesome. Got some actual arrows here. Bows. These are awesome. Look at that. Look at that skull. Those are wicked. Dude. Some epic hunting relics in here. These were all used in Indian hunts. They used stone knives to skin and cut up the animal carcasses. Wow, those are all animal skins and stuff. These big, tall rooms. Very cool statue here. Head over to this teepee over here. Fascinating museum. Rather peaceful day here too. Oh, okay, yeah. Saw this canoe. I saw this canoe earlier when I was on the level lower. Here it is up here. A much better look at it. Whatever you do, sir, don't look down. I said, don't look down. You guys aren't listening. Check out this teepee. I'm a teepee, I'm a wigwam. I'm a teepee, I'm a wigwam. There's some of the glare. They got a whole dwelling going down in there. Let's enter a teepee ourselves. Size of this one. Nice. Wow, look at that gun. Not a gun toter myself, however, do like looking at them. I find them interesting. Chief Crowfoot there. Hey, Crowfoot, I got a job for you. Wow. The Last Spike. Lord Lansdowne presented Van Horn with this silver ceremonial last spike in 1885. Interesting. And his pocket watch actually belonged to Sir John A. Macdonald, the Montreal Watch Case Company. What do you think about that, Darren? Yeah, he's probably not watching, but that's interesting. That is interesting. Wow, look at that. Enter this church house here. Wow, very interesting. Put some fake sunlight on it. Wow. Look at that. It's an actual church in here. Super cool. Look at the old doors. Windows. Pews. Awesome. This is, in fact, a church that once stood at Smoky Lake, St. Onufrius. Spelled like this. St. Onufrius Church in Smoky Lake, Alberta. Moved here. This is it. This is it. So they actually moved the church in here. How the heck did they do that? Or did they dismantle it and rebuild it in here? Pretty dang cool either way. An old chest here. Wow. That's very neat. Walk around the church. It's a depiction of an old schoolhouse. You got the desk, textbook here, old backpack. Alright, bring this around to the back of the church. Oh look, there's a back door. Wow, super neat. You can't go past the door frame, but super taken by this church. We're at the back now. Look at that. Just the light from over here makes it look like a sun setting on the church. That's really cool. Look inside the back there. Cool. Could be my favorite part of the entire museum so far. One more look on the left side here. Churches, look at the old stove there. The old hardwood. Super cool. Awesome. There's even a staircase. Must be able to ring the bell up there. Old violin. It's a violin carving. I'm not sure if that was an actual violin. Violin made by John Melnick, 1915. Over here, this is a barbed wire cross from 1915. And an old pan. Wow. Crucifixion over here. Oh, check this out. This old police baton from Winnipeg. Someone must have taken that on the melon. For being bad. Love this too. These old radios, these old broadcast radios, the old Philco. Definitely getting my exercise out here today. Getting my exercise. Wow. This old thermos and lunchbox. Oh, that old lunchbox. Glasses. Here's some exciting artifacts over here. Teen culture and spaces. There's an old Beatles sweater right there. All the original members of the Beatles and their autographs. Look at this old phone. Old telephone. That's probably from the 1960s, it says. Turntables. Check this out. Look at this. It's a nice Gretsch. That's what Malcolm Young of AC/DC used to play. Always a Gretsch. The best hard rock rhythm players of our time. And this is actually the Guess Who I have seen live. They look so young there. It's insane. That's the Guess Who playing. Guess Who from right here in Canada. Yeah. Randy Bachman was an important figure in the development of Canadian rock music. That's actually one of Bachman's guitars there. In fact, BTO, his other band, Bachman Turner Overdrive, is coming here to town. My mom's got tickets, so my mom will be at that show. Taking care of business. In fact, we've seen the Guess Who with AC/DC at one of their last shows at the SARS event in 2003. 20-some years ago now, one of the last shows the band played together. But taking care of business. They played that. Got a Canadian legend Terry Fox here. You can see a whole episode I did on him. I actually did the Marathon of Hope run. Did like 3 miles or something when I ran. But this is something he actually wore. One of his prosthetics right here in the museum. That's cool. Rest in peace, Terry. Began the Marathon of Hope. There's a statue of him in downtown Ottawa as well. Oh, check it out. Yes! Rick Moranis. Oh, yes. Canadians' relationship with the U.S. was a defining national issue in the last century and continues to shape Canada today. Canada and the U.S. have been close partners, especially in matters related to trade and finance, as well as defense and security. I wish this man still acted. Exhibit here on Maurice Richard, arguably the most legendary Canadian hockey player of our time. He's the wind on skates. He's all of Quebec on its feet. And we are in Quebec. Here's his jersey over here. Legendary number 9. You should know the story of the sweater, which was a cartoon, famous cartoon about the Montreal Canadiens and Maurice Richard. Covered his statue in Montreal. Yeah, he deserves to be a part of the museum for sure. He changed the face of hockey. A wave of violence. Look at that. Look at that thing. It is a robot. That's a Spooner bomb suit worn by Sergeant Robert, 1963. A remote-controlled anti-bomb robot. Aha! A bomb diffuser. This here is actually a sculpture depicting Pierre Laporte bound to a chair. It's a marionette of Jean Chrétien. Jean Chrétien. Jean Chrétien. Jean Chrétien. You can see his accent in his face. Divided we stand. Certainly how it feels now, isn't it? Look at these. It's an old Kellogg's Sugar Pop cereal box. This is what the stop signs look like here in Canada. They say it in English and French because they care. Huge museum. The coffee break. Just taking it black. That massive white sculpture. Look at this guy down here. Looks like an ant. It's a human. We've reached the level of the totem poles. Look at this guy sitting up here. That is neat. Check this out. At the top of the escalator. On to another level. This interesting hallway. There's Mr. Thrasher. Wow. Wow, this is really interesting. You got Toronto here. These all represent different cities and stuff. Or churches. Different landmarks. You got the Canadian dollar, aka the loonie. All your fathers are gonna get called from me. Except for the loonie up in Tonkis. So it does actually say what they are. This is actually Our Lady of Victory Church up in the Northwest Territories. It looked like a church around here, but if we're not sure what they are, it'll tell us. Wow. Ah, the Hector of Nova Scotia. The Big Nickel, I'd love to cover that. The Big Nickel, which I believe is in Sudbury. It says Big Nickel, Ontario. Maybe the town is called Big Nickel, but the Big Nickel itself is pretty ginormous, and it can be found in Sudbury, Ontario. I'd love to cover that. Wow. This is a very neat hallway. Oh, this is a church. Not too far from us here. Here in Quebec, we are really technically in Quebec right now. We're not technically in Ottawa. Wow. It's a fascinating hall, though. I see an interesting ship on the horizon. Wow. She's a beep clock. It's a beep. Dad taught me everything I know about sailing. It's the Nishka girl. Wow. The old Nishka. Look at that. That is cool.
Because this is
That light beaming down.
we will be able to point to
Really neat.
and say, here is the past truth. That means we will own our future.
Is that what it means? This is a birch bark canoe. Birch bark. Looks awesome. You see right over the glass there, right into the canoe. Got this beautiful old clock. Wow. Clock belonging to the Baron of Longwell. 1700s. Dang. 1700s, that clock. Some really cool exhibits over here. Look at all these old antique chairs. Wow. An old grill pane. 1700s. Old toaster, a top, a trivet, a cup. All from the 1700s. Neat, man. You know me and my artifacts. I love my artifacts. I love stuff like this. How a family would make a living way back when. no idea what the heck this is supposed to be. Wild though. Oh, okay. Just gives you lessons on the whole legacy and history. Wow. Old homestead artifacts here. Old dice. Old snowshoes. Like this whole display case here. Wow. Once again, theming pretty on point in here. There's a molasses keg. I was wondering what that was. A molasses keg from the 1800s. Wow, that interesting thing up there. Looks similar to a payphone with a crank. It's actually a coffee grinder. It's a 1700s coffee grinder. Okay, now that is awesome. Ceramics. Wow, old fishing hooks. Look at those old fishing hooks. I don't know if you can tell how rusted the metal one is. The other one's made out of wood. They actually started with wooden fishing hooks. I didn't actually know that. It does make sense though. Check this model ship out over here. That's pretty cool. A ship from the 1500s. Bask whaling. Wow, look at these old rusty harpoons. Jeez. That old shoe. That old shoe. This person would be pretty happy to know that his shoe is on display at a museum for the rest of eternity. Look at these tiny artifacts. All the livelong day. It's actually called an adze blade. Stone-headed adze belong to the worlds of both men and women. Used to cut trees and clear fields. This stuff's just really pleasing to my eye. I like, especially when a museum is nice and quiet, as this one seems to be for the most part today. Look at those. Love looking at these artifacts. The size of that seashell. Wow, look at that thing. Some baskets and stuff. God. Already feeling the Halloween vibes. Got some pumpkin and corn. Looks like fall. I love they got the nature sounds on the overhead. Once again, theming is very on point. Exhibit to exhibit. Museum Day with Mr. Thrasher. There's another one of those skulls. That is wicked. Very cool setup, and major points for the theming and everything in here. You cannot argue with that. Sheer amount of artifacts to look at here is staggering. There's a lot. Look at that. A whole little set up there. Interesting. These are precious metal artifacts, reproductions of copper objects that were found in the McCollum Cache. What about these lines that go, you just get that in museum. I wonder if it's something they do to prevent filming. You can't see it when you look directly at the artifacts. Just in certain lighting, you see? It's a ceiling stool. Made of wood, of course. Wow, look at these. Wow. Ivory dents. AKA teeth. Carved dolls out of wood. Hey there, Aborigine. How goes it? Staying warm, I hope. Dropped your mitts. You dropped your gloves. I love looking at the pipes and stuff. Look at these. I mean, tobacco smoking was part of all social and ceremonial gatherings in Iroquois communities. Pipes could take many shapes, some with human faces. Yeah, really sorry for these lines you get on the screen. This museum lighting. Pipes are pretty darn cool though. Insane amount of artifacts. Yeah, look at that little pipe. What is that, a little bell? It is, it's a little brass bell. Wow. Iron blade. Axe head. Another old bell. An old missionary. That old cross necklace. Interesting artifacts in here. Can't get over some of these pipes. Indigenous weapons. Man, that looks pretty lethal. Pretty cool. This is kind of a rather dark, brooding museum, I gotta say. Many of the exhibits are pretty dark and in low light. Here's a bowl made of maple burl. Sounds of war. Gunfire. Love these horns. Super cool. Proper name is engraved powder horn. I was gonna say an orc horn because I'm a Lord of the Rings fan, but an engraved powder horn. Interesting. These guns are crazy. Coming from. Where's the shooting coming from? That's about gonna do it. And to finish off at this interesting albino sculpture here. Wow, this thing is wild. Do me a favor, give it a big thumbs up. Please like, please subscribe. if you're new here, subscribe and let you know when a new episode goes up. You never know what you may be missing here. On the Mr. Thrash Show, you can become a member for only $5.99. I'll send you a mug in the mail, get you access to episodes before the rest of the public. You never know what you may be missing here on the Mr. Thrash Show. Good museum. You follow me on Instagram. But like I said, hit the thumbs up. Check out other museums, filming locations, roadside attractions. And one more look at the architecture of this place. Wild. Parliament Hill, just down over there. All right. We'll see you guys next time.